Hello, folks. Hello. Welcome back to the show. We have a good episode for you today. We have a special guest, and but before we get into it, as always, guess who's here today?
What's up, everybody? I'm back.
Oh, Omar is back. Yeah. Took a little hiatus. He's been a busy man. I mention it in every show just to make sure that people know that you are actually indeed very busy. I think I say it too much to the point where they're like, he's probably not busy. You know what I mean? No, but he is very busy. He's here with us today. And before we get into the show, why don't you give him a proper introduction?
Sure. On today's episode, we have Darrin Geisinger. He is a marketing professional, illustrator, and now author. Darrin brings his wide repertoire of talents together with stories that conjure the imagination and provoke introspection, and also a contributing researcher for the documentary Higher Entities, and also is putting together the True Legends conference. So welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Glad to be on.
What's going on, Darrin? Hey, we've been trying to set this up for a while. Today we're going to do a little phone interview, because apparently you live in a place that I thought was fictional. It's called the Ozarks, I think.
No, it's called the middle of nowhere, where it's actually called. So the good news is, in brief, I'm getting a fiber internet line. That's a miracle of miracles, because we are at the end of the line in the middle of the Ozark Mountains. So that's only weeks away. The white marks are on the ground. The white flags are on the ground. So this is my last interview with you guys on the phone. Should be via Skype and fast, blazing hot internet the next time we chat. So if it sounds like a phone call, it's the last one. So
Nice.
Appreciate you guys accommodating that. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds nice. Well, hey, man, you're living the dream out there, in my opinion. Being out there in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
that sounds
Without
really
all
cool.
those signals interrupting your brain
Yeah,
waves,
exactly.
No, we got the Wi-Fi super hot in the house to make working remotely possible. So yeah, I'm cooking myself daily. No, but hopefully we'll be cutting out some of that soon, and we'll get some hard wires out here. But I am living the dream. I'm on a 50-acre homestead in the Ozark Mountains, and I got Jacob sheep. They're pretty awesome. They can get up to 6 horns. Our male ram's got like 14-inch top horns. He's incredible. Maybe I'll post a pic of that on Facebook so people go check it out. But yeah,
That's
lots
nice,
of deer
man.
and hunting, and I'm in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that sounds like I said, that sounds like the dream. That sounds really cool, man. But hey, maybe we can talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the episode, because to me that sounds really fascinating. But we wanted to have you on here on this episode because I have here in my hand one of your book. It's called Zero G's Part 1: The Armor Eternal, and I just want to read a little bit about the what the book is about, and I kind of want to go into it a little bit because I'm a real big science fiction fan. I love science fiction. I've read all the major science fiction books. I love Dune. I'm assuming you're a science fiction fan too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're gonna love it. I just sent it to you guys. I didn't give you enough time to tear through it because it's kind of epic. 412 pages, I think, or 16 pages. Plus there's 20 pages of illustrations. It's a first-person novel narrative, and the main character actually has a sketchbook in the story. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of tech that happens in Zero G's.
Yeah.
So and a lot of women actually have read this. It looks like man cave fodder on the outside, but women have enjoyed it just as much as men because they go into relationships and violence versus nonviolence for Christians, and also I'm a sci-fi nut, so I wanted to very much have a design in mind for some of the tech that's used in 2045, because it's going to be pretty outlandish by then at the rate we're going. So the main character sketches in a journal, so people get an inside look at his sketch pages, and there's 20 of those pages in the inside. So if someone's looking at it and I describe tech or something, they can always flash over to that and get a visual. So it's a novel with a bonus.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm flipping through the pages right now, and it looks really cool, man. It reminds me a lot of Gundam and Japanese anime. It looks really good. And did you illustrate these as well?
Yes, I did. I'm an illustrator, so I did the cover illustrations, and I actually have a book company. So someone listening to this and they actually want to create their own book. We'll mention that at the end of the show. I do that for people.
Wow.
But
look at that,
so I did the cover illustration. I did all the illustrations, the inside. A guy named Lucas Marangon, and people can look him up on DeviantArts.com, I think. Helped me. He actually does licensed Star Wars design. So I met this guy a long time ago and we became friends. But I got with Lucas and I said, okay, so Lucas, I'm going to write this novel and I want to visualize this stuff. And I want these exo armors, which do not talk. They are disposable. It's not cheesy. But 2045, we're definitely going to have exo armors if the human race is still around. And so they changed modes in this too. They are modular.
Oh, nice.
And I wanted to make sure it actually made sense that these things could change modes. So he actually helped me with the mechanics. So this has got a Star Wars designer involved. That's basically the end thing I want to mention. Is I'm the illustrator. I refined it. I art directed it, but he helped me make sure the mechanics made sense. Man. And so this took 4 years. This effort, if people are wondering about Zero G's, what it's all about, 4 years of very hard work to create this. What inspired it, though, because I think that's what people really want to know. And they tune into your show. They want to know the origins of things and the coming alien deception and so forth. So let me dive into that. I read Tom Horn's Exo Vaticana about, and people should get that book immediately if they do not know it or have it. It's on, go to Defender Publishing or Skywatch TV. Tom Horn's Exo Vaticana, where it described the Catholic Church basically preparing the world for ET disclosure, and how basically they might not need to be saved, but we will, and we're going to have to change the gospel when we find out this information, and so on and so forth. And the evidence that Tom Horn lays out in there, I had to pick my jaw up off the floor repeatedly. And so that sparked me, but inside of it, there was an interview with another author who wrote a book about the secret organization known as the Collins Elite, who supposedly in the 50s found out, was on the trail to find out that the UFO flap and the wave of UFO sightings that started crashing through our airspace was more to do with paranormal and satanic activity than it was outer space ETs. And this group, the Collins Elite, was made up of very high-ranking medical, military, political officials, and they were going to blow this thing wide open and say, we're a satanic invasion is underway. But quickly they found out that the forces against them were trying to push the agenda of outer space, deep space, ETs visiting us, superior beings, quote-unquote, for other worlds. And so they ended up remaining in the shadows. Anyway, so this other author is interviewed by Tom Horn in Exo Vaticana, and these were the two books that propelled me to write Zero G's. I thought, well, I don't need to write another nonfiction book on this subject. We've got the likes of Derek Gilbert out there. We've got Tom Horn and many other authors that I don't need to do a nonfiction book. What I want to do is take my creative talents and write a fictional novel that lays out these concepts. But I wanted to do it in a very legit way, because I went through some fiction books in our niche, and many of them were thin excuses to get to all the conspiracy theory. It was like Tom and Jane run into this unrealistic situation, and you get this massive info download or whatever, and it's like you never buy into the characters. You just try to start skipping over Tom and Jane as much as you can to get to the good stuff. Well, I hated that. Mm-hmm. So that's why if someone gets into my novel, they're not going to see that this is one of those. I spent a long time making it a legit sci-fi story that you love the characters, you want to know what's happening to them first. You want to find out about their struggles with courage, death, losing loved ones, violence versus nonviolence, as I said, for Christians, and relationships. And then there's also the messengers are here, these hidden ETs that are saving mankind from ourselves, and how that would impact society.
Yeah, I think that makes it incredibly that much more interesting, because it's based on actual research that you have. It's not just like, okay, let's make up a really good story and see where this goes kind of thing. But it's just based on all this research that's really kind of well vetted, and you've turned it into something, sci-fi,
Yeah, right. And so I think that the people in your audience are hungry for the truth. So that's why fictional novels may be for them something they would choose last, let's just say. But what I wanted to do is to have this available, and it succeeded in being that, people who normally listen to Steve Quick, Tom Horn, and Derek Gilbert, their loved ones or whatever might not be doing that, but they could get them this book that's entertaining, that's enjoyable. It doesn't look like a thin excuse to get out a preachy message, and they're getting it for their loved ones, and it's a hit. You know, people are reading it, and they're also getting some of the truth. They're getting the true message that I think Christ brought, and it's woven carefully into a story that goes into all this conspiracy theory and truth and meaningful topics, but does it in a pretty sparkly sci-fi package.
Yeah, I mean, storytelling is an excellent way of conveying a message. Jesus did it, you know, with his parables. He was trying to convey the realities of the world and of the spiritual world, and he just put it in a way where people can think about it, where people can. It wasn't so much of a these are the rules. It was more of in an emotional storytelling way, and I think good stories do that. You know, I mean, and we see that from Hollywood. We see that from all over the place, where these stories that are conveying a message seek and penetrate people's hearts and minds. You know, whether they are based on truths or not. If the story is good, it's going to have an impact. You know, it's going to have a real impact inside of people's minds. And as somebody who's a fan of sci-fi, good sci-fi, man, just makes you just dream, you know, because that's what sci-fi does. Sci-fi brings in the future to now. You know, it's kind of like, well, what will mankind be 50, 100, 200 years from now? And a good science fiction book transports you there, you know, and I can't wait to continue reading this book, man, because it just looks really, really cool. And so how did you, one of my questions is, how did you kind of went into a little bit, but what's like the, you were talking about the Collins group. What was it called?
Collins Elite.
The Collins Elite. Was that some sort of jumping off point to writing the novel? Or can you expand a little bit on that?
Well, it wasn't actually. That's something that fascinated me so much that I ended up including it. But the jumping off point for me was when I really was, you know, started to read a number of things that I read, the well-respected pieces put together. But Timothy Alberino and I have been longtime friends, and so him and I were talking every couple of days for a while, and we really just kind of came up to the same conclusion about the mark of the beast. And I feel like the mark of the beast is most certainly going to be genetic in nature. That what makes you unsavable is the Genesis 6 tie-in, that all flesh became corrupt. And we know from the book of extra biblical books like the book of Enoch that when the Watchers angels came down and they corrupted all flesh on earth, that they started making monsters. They started making, Genesis tells us that all flesh became corrupt, and Noah was perfect in his generations. When I read Joe Noah was perfect in his generations, which is a big theme of Zero G's, my novel, I thought, how he's one of the first people. How can other generations be corrupted already? What do you mean? And of course the theory, the Sons of Seth theory that seminaries put on poor preachers. They were just good people marrying bad people. It's ridiculous. The genetic pool was being corrupted by very, very serious forces. So when I came to the conclusion that what's going to happen in the future is basically the trick in the garden, that you will surely not die, you will be as gods, and the same trick is going to come back. Something is going to come back and offer us a brand new carrot, a brand new apple wrapped in a different package, and people are going to bite, and they're going to become less than full humans, which Christ was fully God, fully human, died for full humans to pay their ransom so they could go to be in a perfect place even though we're not perfect. And when I realized what's coming is going to, because honestly, let's just slide by for a second. A pacemaker is a mechanical thing. It's been tied to, and that doesn't make you damnable. That doesn't make you unsavable. Having a mechanical arm or leg doesn't. It's not changing who you are. So people saying that RFID chips and stuff is some sort of mark of the beast, I don't buy into that one bit. It could factor in, and people are already getting them into them. If I pull them into my hand right now, I'm not unsavable.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I get that. Me and Chuck have had conversations.
We're always messing around.
Can't
wait to get that chip in our hand,
Can't wait
bro.
to get, because it just, I don't know, if you think about it rationally, it doesn't really make sense for some sort of, a chip, some sort of physical device implanted into you, unless it overtakes your mind. But at that moment, then it's like you don't have any more reason. So then I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, really.
Right. Well, my kickoff. You said what kicked off? That was the main thrust of it. It's like I wanted to write a story where I crystallized for people what it'll mean. The Daniel scripture says that the last great kingdom on earth, they will mix their seed with the seed of men, but it will not stick, just like iron does not stick with clay. And that is the kingdom that Christ, when he returns, will crumble and smash. So they will mix their seed with the seed of men, and that the mark of the beast is going to make you damnable and unsavable. So, the characters in Zero G face a lot of things. They face the one world government coming on. They face one world religion. They face massive forces, monsters, entities. But the biggest thing that they're going to start to face, especially as book one winds up, is the mandated evolution of humanity to humanity 2.0. And no one's going to be forced, and I can't tell you how the book is going to do it. I can't give it away, but it's going to be something people are clamoring for, and I'll leave it at that. Other than it's like the Jacob and Esau, where Esau was in great need, and he gave his authority and birthright.
Right, and I think like when we think about it, when we look into like how secret societies work and how, especially on the show, we've talked about how a lot of them will create, let's say, they'll create the chaos so they can provide the order, so they create a problem and then they also create the solution, I've always felt like with all the research that kind of thing makes sense to later in the future. We're going to be like, well, we need to upgrade. We need to be human 2.0. You know what I mean? And as I see like technology advancing, and I see, for example, technology becoming fashionable, they're making, I just saw the other day, they have those contact lenses that can kind of give you pretty much like that virtual reality experience already. And you can just wear them, and they're just part of you. And more do you see it just become like, hey, like, it's like, especially here in Southern California, I mean, even people that don't have homes have cell phones. It's like, it's just a thing where everyone has one, and then except for my daughter, and she will not have one. but my point is that it's becoming something that is just like like you said, it's necessary. Like you said earlier in the beginning of the show, I mean, you kind of need technology in order for you to just make business run as usual. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where it's becoming not just a choice, like I want it or not, but it's just almost like if you don't have it, then you can't really live according to where things are going, right? So,
right. Yeah, I mean, people who do not take this upgrade at first are going to seem like Neanderthals. And made fun of. But that's going to change quickly into we are diseased rats that are a threat to the gene pool going forward. And I describe this, in the book. And obviously, my book also includes a 10-year global economic meltdown at the beginning. The characters, it's already happened. So, they've created the need, the Hegelian dialectic, where you create the problem and you provide the solutions. And so, I do a twist on it where it's known why we had the 10-year global economic meltdown where we lose half the population. The Illuminati did it, and the banksters and the politicians, they did it. And so the messengers are actually throwing them under the bus. They're enlightening mankind and showing us they only could get involved because of a clause and in the intergalactic rules of engagement that we were going to doom ourselves and go allowed to give us this chance. So it saved us from the Illuminati who were depopulating. They saved us from, and now some sort of neo-socialistic one world, everybody join arm in arm and be as one and go up to the stars society is emerging. I take out a lot in this book. This is not your I don't go into what it's not. It's coming out of the meltdown, the phoenix of the one world. Everything is rising in this kind of feel good society where everybody share everything with everybody. And we're seeing hints of that now. I mean, my goodness, youngsters are calling for socialism now, and they have no idea what they're asking for. And so that's just prepping people for, we're going to melt it down, we're going to depopulate, we're going to create the need, and then something's going to save us and turn the lights back on. Something's going to offer a cure for the pandemics that are running wild, and who's going to say no?
Yeah. Have you seen, as of lately, the U.S. government has been releasing a lot of footage and documents about extraterrestrial activity throughout the world. And there was that really famous footage that came out maybe half a year ago from the U.S. Navy ship that was these fighter pilots that were recording what they called the Tic Tac, that was going up and down, like it was going from 30,000 feet all the way down to like 200 feet in mere seconds, as fast as the radar could blip it. That's how fast it went down.
The Tic Tac UFO.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? That was pretty crazy, huh?
Well, I would, and this might get us into the true legend subject. I don't know, however you guys want to take it, but I would encourage people to, if they didn't see L.A. Marzulli's presentation at True Legends 2019, I would get that. He goes on DVD. You can go to www.gen6.com, GENSIX.com, go to the shop and get the True Legends 2019 answering the alien question DVD set. It's pretty awesome. But L.A. Marzulli's on there. He had a standout presentation. He had the best moment of any True Legend so far during that presentation. I won't even get into that, but that was awesome. That's why I made sure he came back this year, because he was so awesome last year. Anywho, let me get to the point. During that thing, he goes over the Tic Tac footage, and shows it on the dual big screens. But he had an interview there, and I can't remember, but it was on a mainstream news. I think it might have been Tucker Carlson or something.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson is interviewing somebody.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he was interviewing somebody.
Yeah, so I don't remember who he was interviewing, but essentially he asked the guy, "Have we recovered crashed alien craft?" Do I have that right? Am I remembering that right, guys?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
And the guy basically, it was is this disclosure? He said yes.
Yeah.
He did not deny it. That yes, we have already recovered crashed alien craft. I mean, he didn't come out and say it, but he did everything but basically say it. I mean, we're just getting close, guys. That's what we're having this phone conversation about, is that we're getting close. I don't know if we're going to melt everything down first, because I have a hard time picturing disclosure coming where Joe Sixpack is talking about the aliens on the scene around the water cooler at work, where life is just hunky-dory. I have a feeling that it's going to happen in a very bad time.
Don't we already have disclosure? I mean, just by the mere fact that it's come out on mainstream media, and even CNN has talked about it. So isn't disclosure already here? It's just that most people haven't. Or do we really need Donald Trump shaking the hand of like a gray alien?
Basically, I don't even think people would believe that yet, actually. The former defense minister for Canada came out and said there's like 8 alien entities right now that we're in association with. This is Hellier or something is his name, but maybe people could look that up. But yeah, he came out and basically said it many times. This is a legit sane person, and no, the forces that be have made so much of this ridiculous. Yes, it's going to take something monumental. I think they scrapped a project. What was it? I forget which one it is. It's going to be a hologram of the fake rapture or alien invasion. They scrapped that. They're waiting until they. Yeah, is that what it was?
Yeah,
people still talk about that once in a while. I think that's long scrapped. It didn't look good enough, and they're not going to do that. They're waiting until they have real craft, and that happens in my book as well. It buzzes the earth, and there is no questioning it. There is no talking around the water cooler. Well, I wonder if when this happens in the book. It happens 3/4 of the way through my novel, and I took a long time to detail just what impact on humanity this would be, because they're here, and there is no denying it.
Do you think that it's going to be more of a Do you think it's going to be more of a of humans, of the human elite, trying to deceive mankind, pretending to be aliens, or do you think it's going to be actual well, in your opinion, what is it? What are they? What are extraterrestrials in your opinion? Then we can go from there.
Well, that's a big answer. You might think I don't have an answer to that, but I do. I think, if people have tracked, everything we've talked about so far, I believe that, if I had to say right now, I think there was exiles from Atlantis, as strange as that sounds, that these Nephilim descendants. I hate to go down Nephilim Street, because some of our truther audience has heard just about enough of that, but I really believe that if you go to the Mesoamerican societies, the Quetzalcoatl and the Veracochas, these bearded Caucasian, green-eyed, blue-eyed things that showed up in their society, to teach them human sacrifice. And they claimed that they had escaped these kingdoms that were destroyed in a flood. And I just believe that there's something to do with that. Even if everything was destroyed in the flood, it does say that everything that he created, God had created, was destroyed in the flood. So something could have escaped off-world or underworld. Maybe that's what they were. In any case, something out there that's an unsanctioned creation that can parade as us. Yes, I think has darted in and out of human history again and again. And they call themselves the Nordics or the Pleiadians, whoever, Admiral Byrd met under Antarctica, if you know that story. I think that eventually, not only in my book are they, well, I don't want to give that part away. So how about this? I do reveal that in the book, but I don't want to give that away. But I think people can hint where I'm going. Yeah. And I believe that under the ground, if people haven't seen the Hollow Earth Chronicles by the Fall Brothers, make sure that they get that. But I do believe there's lots of entities under the ground as well that aren't human.
No, yeah, definitely. I think there's something to it for sure. These maybe these Nephilim, these creatures they're just a remnant, they're a remnant left over from many years ago, and are trying to maybe do their own thing. But yeah, so what do you think that? So then, going back to my previous questions, then what do you think it's going to be? Do you think these entities are they're physical entities that are going to appear and try to make a peace treaty, or they're going to try and be the adversary?
What if for the Space Force stuff, we're like funding those ships?
Yeah, and so is there going to be like a battle between Space Force and them, or what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think we've been prepped for this,
sort of thing.
that, in the Fall Brothers documentary, we do talk about this, the higher entities by the Fall Brothers, Fourth Watch production. People haven't seen the higher entities. My book Zero Jesus featured in that, and a lot of great people. Derek Gilbert is in that, and Tom Horn. But in that, I think that we go over that Eisenhower supposedly made. Was disappeared. He went to California for some dental work, quote unquote, and a lot of people say he met some entities and created the Treaty of Greada there, and we're still paying for it. And how the story goes is detailed in higher entities. Make sure people pick that up. The DVD by the Fall Brothers. What that's described, I'm only going to give a bit. You have to see the rest of the DVD. Is that Eisenhower was about to ready to meet with the Greys. And there's a lot of definitions for that. But during those negotiations, another race supposedly contacted him in the middle of those negotiations and said, "Don't do it. It's a trick. There are longtime foes. These are the humans, the Pleiadians, the Nordics contacted them and said, 'Don't do it. They're going to trick you. But one condition: if you go with us, you got to get rid of your nuclear weapons, because we can't deal with you if you're going to keep on doing this.'" Well, there's pictures of the UFOs watching nuclear tests and monitoring nuclear. In the Official Disclosure Project, there's a guy that testified blatantly that he saw a UFO go around a nuclear missile in flight, zapping it with a red beam as if it was outside of gravity. It had no gravitational effects on it. And so they have been prepping us. They're studying our nuclear thing. They're going to warn us. All these people who are supposedly channeling beams of light are telling them about the Great War coming and warning us not to get into nuclear, this and that. So basically, all the way back to Eisenhower, they prepped us to say, you got to get rid of your nuclear weapons. Of course, they didn't go with that, because everybody looked at each other and said, "Are we going to get rid of our greatest weapon? An alien is telling us to get rid of our greatest defense weapon? Are you kidding?" So they signed with the Greys, and there was supposedly agreement with the Greys was that they could study us as long as they gave our government the names. It was a limited number of people. There was a whole bunch of restrictions. Well, that was out the window. Of course, they lost track of that, and they probably started trading bits of technology with them. And so they're like, "Okay, give us this awesome thing. All right, you can take more people. Who knows? Or we'll just turn a blind eye to this and that." So I'm sure in our stupidity, humanity lost control of that. So anyway, I think that's the thing. These humanoid Pleiadians have set us up to say, see, we told you so. Not only did you sign with the wrong guys, but we told you to get rid of the nuclear stuff. And now you guys are in a mess. 3 more reactors defaulted. The Pacific Ocean is this and that. And now some nuclear bomb went off on a city, a suitcase nuke somewhere. So now we're going to have to save. That's probably one of the mix of horrible things we'll say that's from. And they'll say, see, all the way back down, we told you not to do it.
Right. You know what I find interesting is that these stories kind of match the Carl Teichert stuff, where people like in the UN, high-ranking officials are, talking to entities. We hear this. We hear people in Silicon Valley, going on microdosing, and they're talking to entities and stuff like that, and they're receiving information, and it's like, it sounds weird maybe sometimes when we say it, like Eisenhower or this and that, but it's like it's such a common thing, and it's grown so much, and like you said, it's kind of, I feel like it's been over this past century, of course, been just preparing more and more. It's become so natural to be like, oh yeah, like people in Silicon Valley microdose, and then they talk to entities, and they get this, they know how to build a better chip all of a sudden, and things like that, and it just kind of, it's like more than ever do I feel like minds are prepared for that,
Well,
It's a classic.
yeah, I got takes on both of those things. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say it's a classic trope in sci-fi. Like, if you read sci-fi enough, you'll realize that the majority of technology always comes from the outside. It's like humanity comes to a certain point, and then the technology, in order to, like, the jump in technology, the jump in hyperdrive, the jump in something, always comes from an outside source. You always get it from either a proto-molecule, either you get it from, like, from a divine essence, like in Dune. Dune is very big on the DMT trip, on the going inward and outward in your own mind and contacting other entities. And you see that in a lot of science fiction, and I think that's the trope of, like, the knowledge always comes from the outside, or it comes from you, but you have to go inward in some sort of psychedelic trip,
Yeah, there's 2 prongs to what you were just talking about. Let me touch on them both briefly. So Carl Teichert's awesome. I'm reading Game of Gods right now. That is the book. I'm only to chapter 7. It is so meaty. But the reason I suggested him for True Legends this year, because I saw him on the Fall Brothers Belly of the Beast documentary, and I'm like, this guy has to stand out here. So I started investigating, got Game of Gods, and then said to Steve Quayle, we got to have this guy, True Legends. But it very much factors into my book, because what happens in Zero G's is that all the banksters and politicians are now gone, and a council of resplendent light is picked from common clay of man, plumbers, teachers, 300 of the most common people, and they are meeting with the messengers right now to disperse their knowledge and enlightenment to mankind. And so that is exactly Carl Teichert's Game of God's message, is that the oneness, the blah, blah, blah. Another fantastic book, if people are interested in the subject, is False Dawn by Lee Penn. Half of that book is highlighted for me, and that was probably the 3rd prong book in me writing The False Dawn by Lee Penn when I wrote my book, because this council of resplendent light and this joint arm in arm and sing Kumbaya, and we're going to go to the stars as enlightened gods, is a huge theme in Zero G. So I wanted to touch on that. So Carl's going to be a True Legends. He's awesome. I'm hoping he's going to write the foreword to the Zero G book too. I haven't sprung that on him yet, but well, I don't know. Listen, I forget the other prong that I was going to say that was really important. What were you just saying?
I was just saying about how sci-fi always has technology and the advancement of technology coming from either an outside source or coming inward through some sort of psychedelic experience.
Yes, and that, thank you for reminding. So Philip Corso's The Day After Roswell is such a fascinating read. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but he was an Army R&D colonel. I really do believe him. I believe Phil Schneider. I believe Colonel Corso. There's a couple people that I do believe. Colonel Corso's book, The Day After Roswell, he was throwing parts on his desk and said he basically reverse engineered these. And long and short of it, this makes it into my novel as well, is essentially what you were saying, guys, about the knowledge comes from the outside, is that my take on it, and it's in the book, is that the crashed Roswell craft and many others that happened were essentially Trojan horses. They are given the appearance of these deep space aliens. In reality, it is a care package of fiber optics, microchip, night vision, black jackets, and whatever else to basically doom ourselves in short order. That's why the invention scale, or however you said, the fourth industrial revolution is skyrocketing at an unusual pace. Yeah, Oberth, the guy who came over and Project Paperclip from the Nazis, said, "We got help. We got help." Yeah, of course you did, because they're helping us doom ourselves.
Interesting, man.
I think Colonel Corso in his book, or there were people who've seen these crash crafts. I mean, it's night out, and you look inside, and you look out the front of it, and it's night vision. It's like daylight out, and so this is where it's like, oh, let's give them more means to kill themselves with night vision and make war. And, well, microchips and fiber optics alone, if that's what it became from the crashed craft, what impact has that had on humanity?
Yeah, no, and aside from those people, actually, people that probably are more, a person that's more well known in the Christian community, at least, is Stan Deo's experience with being an agent for the CIA, or I believe, right?
Yes. Yep.
And working on like anti-gravity technology and all this stuff, and I mean, his experience alone just kind of confirms more of what we're talking about, and just the government being way deep into this alien reverse engineering stuff than we thought. What did you think about that?
Yeah.
What did you think about that Bob Lazar
Now,
interview? I don't know if you saw that with he worked at Area 51 and he was on Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah, well, no, I haven't seen all of that, excuse me, but I mean, one of the gists of it is that one of the greatest finds that they were reverse engineering was archaeological in nature. Do I have that correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, they did. He said that they were working on archaeological sites throughout the world, trying to get these pieces that he said that were thousands of years old through carbon dating, and they also had some of them in warehouses too.
He said something very weird, which I wouldn't expect him to say. He says, "I don't even care if aliens exist or who get. I just want the technology." It's just kind of weird.
I think that's how most people think. That's how most scientists think about it. They're very pragmatic people. They just want that high of the discovery, the high of like finding new technology, making it better. So to them, it's like, well, who cares if we get it from aliens? Yeah, who cares if we get technology from aliens or from, going on DMT trips? It doesn't matter. It's like, let's just get this information.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a character in the book. He's with the Collins Elite. That's in the second half. But almost all the characters run into the Collins Elite at about the halfway point and would be doomed if not for them. But I have a colonel character in the Collins Elite who basically says, we just got addicted to it. We were like ants slurping up the sugary goop, and basically all the taste he finds from these shot down craft. And we didn't realize that we were, just taking coals and heaping them right onto our own laps. Because, some people say, as crazy as it sounds, that we developed plasma beams. There's actually footage of this on YouTube where you can see saucers darting out of the way of our shots of plasma. But there's supposedly football fields in Mongolia and Russia and stuff with just tons of this crashed craft that they started to shoot down. And so, yeah. Who knows exactly what we've gotten from them and if that's true or not. It's some of the more bizarre theories out there.
Yeah, speaking of,
I just want a hoverboard from Back to the Future.
Speaking of hover and all of that is in zero G's, and people might be wondering, okay, so if this is all the end times, the mark of the beast, mandated human evolution and one world everything, what is the gravity thing about? I'll give a hint. That is, I don't know if that's going to happen. It's kind of part of the parable of it. It's just an interesting story thing. But what would happen if we started to lose our gravity? And I'll give a hint. People have to read the book to find out. But it has to do with lying signs and wonders. So I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, there's lots of hover stuff going on in Syracuse. And then basically they figured out, they're saying we now have discovered 0-point energy and anti-gravity. But it's given to us by these messengers as a way to lighten us so that we can join them and become saviors on our own, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be another trope. Like we keep bringing up these how science fiction and reality kind of mirrors itself. Another trope is that mad scientist. It's like just I thinking about that right now. It's like, yeah, that's almost in every single science fiction novel. There's always a mad scientist. There's always some guy who has like no regard for human life or morality, and he just wants to push the boundaries of science further. You know,
Like,
because
like a lot of this stuff that we're talking about kind of reminds me of like Hellboy, the first one.
well, yeah, I mean, it's you, dude. It's like I said, it's like you see it in everything. Like you see it in Hellboy, you see it in a lot of the
Zero
science
Point
fictions.
Energy is in what's that movie? The
Yeah.
kids movie, the Incredibles.
The Incredibles, yeah, you see it. You see it like
I love The Incredibles.
yeah, you see it like in The Expanse. It's like another really big science fiction novel too. Like you see it in a lot of stuff, dude. That there's always this mad scientist who,
Or the creator of Battlefield. That fool was like into the occult and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah, the creator, yeah, Battlefield, yeah, too, yeah. It's crazy.
Cool. Where do you guys want to go from here? I don't know how much time we have left, but what do you want to? Where do you want me to
We
go?
got a solid 20, 30 minutes still,
Yeah.
so
Let's
don't
talk
worry.
about the True Legends conference, man.
All right, cool. So, yeah, I'm a coordinator. I'm also a speaker at True Legends this year. I've done this a couple of years. It's in Branson. It's July 10th through the 12th. It's really the 9th through the 12th. You really want to get there for early registration day. There's a book signing by Steve Quayle that Thursday. You can pre-register, which means you get your rate bracelet, your admission bracelet. You get checked in. And Steve's daughter is actually going to do a concert for free that night at the Mansion Theater in Branson. It's going to be awesome. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, is Russ Dizdar, Carl Tykrib, Gary Wayne, L.A. Marzulli, Dr. Michael Wade, Steve Quayle.
My
This
goodness.
it's going to be this is going to be really exciting. It's about ancient cataclysms and coming catastrophes. So they're going to be talking about the gas theory, pre-Adamic age, pre-Adamic races, and flood, post-flood, how we're going to return to the days of Noah, and what's coming as far as prophecy and revelation. So you're going to get everything from Russ Dizdar, from his new take on the Black Awakening, and you're going to get the alien deception.
I remember hearing about the Black Awakening.
Lot.
Whew, that stuff scared me. I was like, what?
Dude, there's so many people there. If I was an alien, I'd be there too. I'm like, what do these guys know about me? What do these guys know about me? Let me sit through this conference.
I'm gonna shape shift myself in there.
Yeah, just pretend to be somebody.
Yeah.
How y'all doing?
I'll be a really bad like actor of a human. You know what I mean? Like, hello there. But so that's coming up.
People are interested in getting there. People want to get their tickets right now. So go on to gen6.com, GENSIX.com. There is a early bird special that's good till this January 31st at midnight. So only like a week more, and you get $20 off each ticket. So 4 people are gone. That's $80, right? If I have my math right, that's a bunch of money. So if you want to, and the tickets are actually selling faster because it's in July instead of September this year. So we're selling very briskly, and it always sells out every year. So people want to get that. They want to see Steve Quayle and Gary Wayne and Russ Dizdar and all the people that I mentioned get there. I'm going to be speaking about, because I'm on the home side, I have some philosophy on what people ought to be doing. It's basically the get out of Babylon message as much as you can, because at some point we're going to have to start saying no to things. Be remnant. If you're going to be in the remnant and following the narrow way, there's going to have to be a jumping off point. And the deception is being so great and so tempting, and that's what I detail in my novel, that if you don't have an escape hatch to freedom, if you haven't, I'm not talking about prepping. I think prepping has some serious flaws in it. I'm talking about some decisions and some lifestyle changes.
I'm sorry, one more time. What has serious flaws?
Prepping?
Oh, prepping.
I think the mental attitude of prepping, where you keep your suburban house and you build a bunker with canned goods in it somewhere, is not what I'm going to be talking about. I'm talking about something else, because when the disasters strike and the FEMA trucks are coming around and they're offering hot meals and your vaccine and you got to come with us, if you don't have a way to say no, you're going to say yes. So, and there's a lot, people accuse our genre of feeder porn, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I talked to Steve. I said, Steve, let me talk Sunday. Let me get these people. Let me give them some philosophies on what they can do, because there is some solutions and what people ought to be doing right now, and it's not prep. So that's what I'm going to be talking about on Sunday morning. What people can actually do if they're scared about this, or believe it, I think it's coming.
Yeah, that's a good thing, man.
Ship, so.
Yeah, that's a really good thing, because people need to know about that stuff, because I already told Chuck I get top bunk at the FEMA camp, and I'm not looking forward to it.
Well, it goes back to the. I
So
didn't
what do
see
we
the
need
new
to
one,
do,
but
man?
The
Yeah,
Red
no,
Dawn, the
we've
Red
already
Dawn
like,
movie.
okay, we'll take it. Yeah.
The Red Dawn movie, the old one with Patrick Swayze. I didn't see the new one or not, but that scene where the dad is in camp behind the chain link fence and the boys are on the other side.
Which movie?
It stuck with me since I was younger. The Red Dawn scene.
Red
Oh.
Dawn. Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, yeah. I forgot about
that's
that.
right, exactly. So that's part of it. But it takes a few people are going to survive in the mountains. Building a fire and trapping rabbits. Not a lot of people are going to survive that.
What was your address again?
What was your address? I know. Where do you live? I'm going to go over with you,
What
man.
are your coordinates?
Hey, here's my saying for that. You better show up with more than just a fork.
Very, very well. Very well. I'm working on a couple of
How
things.
about a couple of kids and a wife?
A couple of...
Well, I'll need slave labor.
I know. Need some slave labor. Yeah.
Nice.
That's what I'm talking about.
Nice.
No, but that's, like I said, that's a very good point because I think, first of all, we get caught up in the information and sometimes, and like you said, we kind of, like you said earlier, okay, we're tired of hearing about Nephilim. We're tired of hearing about aliens or demons. I mean, especially in this community, we like, okay, we know that. So what's the next thing or what's the next thing? And we keep wanting new things to learn, but sometimes we forget like the pragmatic. Well, what are we gonna do? Like, okay, you're learning these things, but what can we do? And I don't know. I am confessing I'm pretty guilty of not really thinking about prepping properly, not just like you said, like a bunker and having the food ready and all that stuff. Like what else, and I would argue also, obviously, the spiritual, the mental, and I would say the physical.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
yeah, everything ties together,
Yeah, I recommend, yes. Well, Dr. Michael Lake, I'm enjoying having him there. His book, Shinar Directive and Brief Imperative, you can get it from Defender, but better yet, at True Legends, he really goes into the spiritual aspect of preparedness, and that is something I focus on too, although he is much more qualified to talk about that. So, again, I don't need to get into that. But I get into a little bit more of yes, spiritual preparedness is more important than what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But, hey, not that long ago, I'm an artist, right, from the suburbs, from Cleveland, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know boo about this stuff yet. I've only been on my homestead for 2 years, and we had too many roosters not that long ago, cadoodling at all hours of the day. I didn't need these roosters, so I took 2 of them, from living roosters to soup. And as I did it, it was incredibly horrible and awful. And I'm thinking, wait, you can go to Walmart right now and get a cooked rotisserie chicken packaged for less than $5. You throw away everything in that said package. You're done. We're in trouble. We're in big trouble because they're setting us up, the things that Carl Tykwood talks about in Game of God, they're setting us up, getting us into the cities, Agenda 21, getting us herded in, and nobody knows how to do anything anymore. People have an orange, 3 cans of tuna, and a jar of peanut butter in the house, and people look at screens all week long, bleeps and bloops, and all their money's electronic. The house of cards is incredibly tall. So when they pull the card out and just-in-time shipping stops, electronic banking goes away, and the Dow Jones goes away, it is going to be a very sad scene. So I do think people need to start thinking about that.
It's funny you brought that up because I was thinking about it yesterday, and then me and Omar were talking about it right before the show, and we were saying just that. We're like, dude, this whole suburbia, man, that's like the perfect lie right there. Like, just to go in there and then just continue to push and promote, just the consumerism, the whole they live concept, you know what I mean? and just we're just kind of like buying into it, and just, especially here in Southern California. I mean, I was telling one of my friends, I'm like, we're not, in a sense, overpopulated to where there's no space. We're like, California is mostly empty. Everyone's here in the South. You know what I mean? And
we're not overpopulated. We're overdumbed.
Exactly.
The convenience is just overwhelming right now, and we can't resist it.
Right, and when I used to hear like back in the day, just those we're just like cattle, and I really didn't understand because I heard a lot of quote unquote woke stuff and conspiracy stuff a long time ago, but I didn't really understand it. I was like, what do you mean I'm like we're all just cattle? And I really didn't get it, but like really speaking, like we're really just, we're just kind of hurdled up. We're all just fed, and we're seemingly happy, but we're really in these, like Omar mentioned earlier, we're like in a prison. So you can eat, play, and shop and sleep all in the same building. You know what I mean? Like they're building places here in Southern California where you literally have your townhome, right? You have businesses, and then you have like shops in the same structure, and a gym, everything. So you literally don't have to leave that square block. Yeah. You know what I mean? And not to mention, all the stuff that, you can order your food. You don't even have to leave your house. You know what I mean? and so, there's something interesting.
Yeah, it's living the life. It's living the life until the power goes out.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're in a big meat locker.
Right. Until the grid goes down. So, and you know what's crazy? I just want to bring this up. I work for a beverage distribution company. It's one of the largest in the world. Actually, probably is the largest in the world, right? It is the largest. And then we just partnered with Walmart to go on a new system, and it's kind of a scary thing. Like I was in the meeting 2 weeks ago listening to this, and everyone was like, "Wow, this is so much better," And I was like, in the back of my head screaming like technocracy, you know what I mean? Like I was losing my mind, And so what was happening is that Walmart has created these AI algorithms, right? And it basically predicts what people are going to buy and how much of it, right? And it populates that into a system called the GRS system, the Global Replenishment System. And that in and of itself, I was like, interesting.
The 666 system.
The 666 system. And then once it goes in there, it basically tells the computer, okay, these people in this store are going to buy this much product, and they're going to buy this specific thing. And so it generates an order in my computer when I go into the store, so I don't have to write an order anymore because the computer knows, the AI knows what people are going to buy, And so it's going to do that. We can't mess with the orders at all because it's seeing how accurate it is. And if it's not, it adjusts itself. It reads the information, says, okay, we were wrong. And it keeps readjusting until it gets it correct. So now for Walmart's, we don't have to do that. And I don't know if you know, but Walmart's now have robots cleaning. They have like robots cleaning the floors. They have people who used to walk around scanning the accuracy of what's on the shelf. Those people are gone. Now they have, and not all stores, but in some stores, they have a little robot going around scanning, making sure it's the right product. And if it's not, it tells the store, and it's just this whole thing. They're really switching over to tech, And as I'm listening to this, I'm like, do you guys realize that they have everyone down, like figured out to where like a Walmart algorithm can figure out what you're going to buy. You know what I mean? And tell us like, okay, I no longer need you to write this order. This AI is writing it for you. You know what I mean? And so that's just kind of like the beginning. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. How's that going to look like 10, 15 years from now? And Walmart's like the leader of that. And all these other businesses go out of business because no one's on that GRS global replenishment system. And then I was thinking about my job. I'm like, what about my job? This is what I do. You know what I mean? This is literally, I manage these accounts and I write orders for those accounts. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, and so I don't know. I got really concerned.
Well, the house of cards just keeps getting taller. I mean, Jesus, Yeshua the Christ said that there's a coming a time of disaster where there's never been anything like it before and never will be again. And if the days are not shortened, no flesh would be left alive. Mm-hmm. That's what's coming. And, I read stories of sailors shipwrecked or whatever. They're out in a little lifeboat. Their boat went down or whatever. And these are hardened sailors, tough Christian, grizzled men, and they're eating each other in a week. And we're talking about a house of cards that's going to come down with billions who are addicted to, ho-hos and energy drinks and EBT cards and MTV. And I just can I shudder to imagine what it's going to look like. And so that's why I'm taking action.
Yeah, no, interestingly enough, I've had, I'm 34 now, especially in my 30s, I've had this even not even thinking about this stuff specifically, I just had this impulsivity to learn to hunt, and to learn to like really survive, learn to be like very primal. I don't know if it happens, especially maybe to men that have never really lived that. I have no idea if this is a natural thing that happens in the 30s or if this is just a God-led thing. But I've really had that impulse to go back to being a lot more primal, or at least not necessarily living that daily, but knowing how to do it. You know what I mean? And
yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to call you a rat, but it's like rats who sense the ship is going down and they start scurrying for safety. I mean, I don't know if that's what you're going through, but for me, yeah, I shot my first buck last year, and wow, that's amazing. I don't know how to describe it, but it's what you're talking about. It's like the ancient way or whatever. It's like being able to provide for yourself. So, I mean, it's not just shooting a deer. I mean, it's learning how to deal with chicken and with sheep and relying. If people believe in what the scriptures say, which I don't know how much of your audience does, I certainly do. When you start to actually rely on the rain to survive, you start to rely less on big pharma, big ag, big box store, and you start to rely on the big guy because he provides the rain. He provides things to sustain you. And what are we talking about? We're talking about the world system is growing so big that everybody's suckling at its teat of sustainability. And when they pull that away, what is going to happen? So we have to start relying on the Creator because He's going to sustain us in those dark days.
No, yeah, I totally agree. It's like this whole, it's a whole different thing. Like where I live out, it's a little bit more rural than over here. And there's like my neighbors have horses and cows and things like that. So there's a lot more things that we can do. And I try to grow tomatoes, and then I try to grow also have a lot of orchards out there. And there's this, I understand what you're trying to say. And if people can only do a little bit to see how it feels like just grow some tomatoes. Like I'm sure you have a little plot of land, grow some tomatoes, plant a tree, and start seeing the natural way of things, and then you'll start seeing God in that. You'll start seeing God literally in nature, and then you'll start understanding what we're trying to tell you right now. Just start with something small. Do something small.
Something.
Yeah.
Don't wait for a 50-acre homestead. If you're in a house in the suburbs, we actually moved to Idaho for a little bit and rented on a cul-de-sac, a suburban cul-de-sac. And you know what? We turned the whole backyard into chickens, and the front yard we dug up and planted a garden. I mean, we just put it right in the front yard. We were quite the talk, but we believed what we were talking about. So, hey, you guys, I wanted to give you the website. If you have the coupon code, or people are interested in the novel Zero G's to find out how I tie all of these things that we've been talking about by novel. It's very cool, and if you want to get it for somebody else too who might not listen to this kind of thing, it's a great gift for them. So go to DarrinGeisinger.com. I'm sure you guys are going to put my spelling of my name in the notes somewhere.
Yeah, we'll put a link. No problem.
Yeah, DarrinGeisinger.com. If you use the coupon code HE2020, that's HE like E. You will get 30% off the book right now. Okay, I did that for the Fall Brothers promotion for the higher entities. Mm-hmm. So HE2020 gets you 30% off at DarrinGeisinger.com for the novel. People should check it out. And I wanted to get that in.
HD as in Hilo what? Delta?
Elephant.
Echo, okay.
Hilo Elephant. HD as in higher entities.
Oh, got it.
HD 2020.
Got it. Very good. Anything else that you would like to mention before we kind of land this plane?
My wife and I's website, our ministry it's called raisinguptheremnant.com, raisinguptheremnant.com. That's our ministry. We just had our big event in December, so we have Michael Lake there and Tom Stapleton and a bunch of people talking about getting out of the system, with spiritual preparedness and lifestyle changes. People can check out that website if they're addicted to links. We've given out a lot of links and info here, but if people want to see our actual ministry, we're going to be figuring out what our next event is going to be, but we might have workshops, like getting out on the homestead workshops. We're going to have spiritual preparedness workshops, but raisinguptheremnant.com and DarrinGeisinger.com. Those are my links, and Gen6.com for the True Legends early bird, $20 off every ticket. website. Yeah, I think I've given all my links now. I've given all my plugs.
No,
So-
not at all. That's good. That's
Cool,
good.
man.
So
Thanks,
Gen
man.
6, we got those. We'll put those up.
Yeah,
No
I'll put those
problem.
on the show notes.
Yeah, indeed. Wait, hey, Darrin, this is a really interesting conversation. And for people that don't know, your boy Chuck is going to make it out to that True Legends conference. Yeah, so I'll be there and I'll meet people that I haven't met. I've met Carl. I've met a few of those people. L.A. Marzulli. He was on the show. I really think L.A. came on the show really early when we were like when just our moms listened to the show. You know what I mean?
Your mom did.
Your mom, yeah.
Your mom's listening to the show.
Yeah, and that was it, and so now, everyone, we want to thank him for that, so I'd like to see him again. I think, does he still live in California? He used to. I know he used to, but I know he had the issues with his house and stuff like that. But so I'm pretty excited going over there and checking it out. I'm going to be going with my fellow friend who's also come on the show, Tracy Yates. We'll be over there. And
Send me some pictures, dude.
I will send you some pictures. It's going to be exciting. And I'm going to post on YouTube and also on other things. If people have questions that they want me to ask those guys like Derek Gilbert and Russ Dizdar, things like that, to give them to me. And since I'll be there, I'll try and get those questions answered. And it's going to be great. So anything else you want to say, Omar? Or
I just want to thank you, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
That's it. That's all. Me on, guys. I appreciate it, and it was fun. And next time we'll be on fiber optic line. I can't wait. So
it's gonna sound good. It's gonna sound good. No. Thanks again, Darrin. Hang on for a second and let these folks listen to some tunes, and we'll be right back, folks.